Hey, everybody. This is Courtney Starhart. And after I got a bunch of calls after yesterday's post, I thought I would come on today and talk about something really near and dear to my heart, which is traditional native medicine. I didn't forget the sticky note. Let me tell you real quick about my story so that you have some background. I started off as an academic and a National Merit Scholar. I was once a normal person. No, I wasn't. Anyway, I got sick when my children were small, and I ended up moving out west to go back to my native roots. Western medicine completely failed me. Nobody could even figure out what was going on with me. And I was slowly dying. I was losing weight. I was bleeding out. I had infections all over my body. And no matter how many tests they took, they just couldn't seem to figure out what was going on with me. Of course, we all want to live, but when we have small children, I think it becomes an even stronger impetus because you love those children so much. You want to be there for them and you want to see them grow up and thrive and not be in an orphanage. When I got sick, my marriage broke up. My now ex husband left us because, of course, I seemed like a crazy person. My family distanced themselves, and I was left to deal with this really hard situation alone. And I dealt with it through a process that we call rainmaking. Okay. Rainmaking is this idea that we can connect to the force, that we can connect to these higher powers. And literally, in the tribal tradition that I ended up studying with, rainmaking is a requirement for a medicine person. So nowadays, everybody's calling themselves a shaman. Nowadays, everybody is playing around with plant medicine. If I had the time of day to worry about it, it would make me terribly sick to my stomach to think about the number of people who are serving plant medicine and calling themselves things that they aren't. Um, on the other hand of things, we see how the American Medical Association has really blocked a lot of us holistic health practitioners over time and fought with us and the big pharma and the hospitals, and how difficult it is for people who are alternative or holistic or chiropractic. Traditional Chinese medicine has now been recognized. So I'm here today to talk to you about traditional native medicine. TNM. So we're breaking ground. We're learning a lot about how to work around the restrictions and how to help people. More than ever today, traditional native medicine is needed. And it was literally the medicine, the health and healing system that was practiced on this continent before Europeans got here and colonized. And I say that because there were Europeans who visited here many, 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 many times, as well as Africans and Egyptians. People from all over the world actually were coming here. And we have a very clear oral tradition in Native America, especially in the tribe that I studied with, about how there were all of these different visitors from all over the place. So, the holistic health system, or what we would otherwise call medicine, of Native America, was a lot like traditional Chinese medicine or Ayurvedic, holistic, but it included a couple of really interesting features, uh, which are some kind of superpowers, right? The medicine people, the native shamans of this continent were legendary, absolutely legendary. I have personally seen more than one person interact with elements and interact with the spirit world, interact with people's physiology in really miraculous ways. And I'm fascinated by the mechanism that allows this to happen. So, in this book, while I was dying, I did a bunch of research. In this book, I go out and I interview 10 world renowned experts in consciousness. The first one was Patricio Dominguez, and that is the gentleman that I eventually ended up studying with for 20 years. Just talked to him the day before yesterday to deal with a kidney stone situation with a client to make sure that Chanca Piedra is going to help. Anyway, so that's chapter one. Chapter two was the Princeton GCP, the Global Consciousness Project. Chapter three, John Major Jenkins, world renowned expert on Maya culture and history. Joseph Chilton Pierce, best selling author and researcher. He wrote a book called The Crack in the Cosmic Egg, which really alludes to this rainmaking process. So it goes on and on. Oh, Dr. Quantum, Chapter 5, Fred Allen Wolf. He's really well known from What the Bleep. Jose and Miguel Ruiz, I got to spend the day with them. And Patricio was friends with Miguel, and I eventually got to spend time with Jose more than once. Masaru Emoto, the water guy who took dark field microscopy pictures of water molecules. Um, oh my gosh. And then the Maharishi's right hand woman, she does the well, it's a long story, but she studied with him and took over the project, the TM project, once he had passed on to the spirit world. So we've got amazing interviews in here because I'm interested in the science of how the mind works. So, talking about traditional native medicine, we have this understanding that we're hue, right, like the light, dash, man. Okay, we aren't just one thing. We're light and matter mixed together. And the way that we see this is that it's a little bit like oil and water, like salad dressing. You have to shake it all the time to get the proper mix, right? So the connection between spirit and flesh is the mind. It's a lot like in yoga, where we talk about yoga being yoking. Well, yoking means like cattle being tied to the cart. Yoking what to what? Well, yoking the light into our bodies is this process of yoga. There are a lot of things that Native American medicine has in common with different systems. But the mind body thing is the most distinguishing feature, and also that we take pride in being able to work with the force and manipulate the elements in order to help people to heal, to present situations where more light comes into their bodies and they reorganize. We now have all of the evidence from Joe Dispenza's research that shows that when we get into a certain state of consciousness, our energy body opens up and goes boom, and you become more light than matter. When that happens, then great healing is possible. So during colonization, all of this was spurned. A lot of us were killed. A lot of us were incarcerated, tortured, mutilated, the whole nine yards. Um, and then we were called witch doctors. So I'm really happy to be alive during a time when we're allowed to have our ceremonies again, where we do have our religious freedom protected, and where there's beginning to be a comeback, this interest in the native ways. Because after all, there were Native Americans here before the Europeans came over and colonized, and we should very much be looking to the people who lived on this continent for millennia. Also, just as a side note, there were hundreds of millions of Native Americans here, and they literally chose not to do the wheel because the wheel, that which is round, represents something sacred. So the people who built Teotihuacan were not too stupid to use a wheel. Their children actually had little toys and trinkets that looked like cars. We knew exactly what a wheel was. We chose not to prostitute it, and we chose to use our feet. And we also didn't have domesticated animals other than the dog. So there were a lot of choices that we consciously made because oral tradition says that we made mistakes in past cycles. So we're coming to the end of a cycle, again, according to oral tradition, where we're in the darkest of dark times and the light is starting to come through. So if these traditions are something that you're interested in, I take private clients, I do group teachings. We also have an ayahuasca retreat here each month, and I work with people one on one. But the first step in the process is adjusting your diet, adjusting your health, and looking at you as a holistic being. So, if you want to boost your mental focus, if you want to boost your productivity and your vibrant health, you have to go through an entire process. It's not just about taking plant medicine. And in fact, a lot of my clients choose not to because they feel they don't need it or they think it might be overwhelming. So, even though we do work with plant medicine a lot as Native American practitioners traditionally, it's not really our go to. So, as a medicine woman, I see a lot of people going right for the psychedelics. And, I also like to eat my dessert first. you know, but the medicine is the end stage. It's not the beginning stage. The first stage is figuring out what's going on and agreeing on what our vision is and where you want to get to. Just like if you were getting in a car, you would want to know where you're going, at least have a general idea. Especially if we were all getting in a car together as a group, we would want to have a plan that we agree upon for a destination. A lot of times we also make a map before we depart so that we can just enjoy the ride a little bit more. So that's what my consultations entail. And I look forward to seeing you again. I'll be doing a lot more broadcasts because I really want to support and help the healing and the connection of holistic health practitioners, human resources, and people who are making a difference in the world. So, whoever you are, thank you so much for the work that you do, and thank you for showing up to listen to this. Again, I'm Courtney Starhart. You're welcome to check out the links to the Church of the Natural Law, or you can catch me by dropping me a message. Bye for now.